Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. We get a ton of requests from you listeners, and one that's been popping up more and more is, well, how to make sense of investment themes,
Mm-hmm.
which honestly is a great question
Yeah.
because it's not just about knowing what the themes are. It's about understanding what they tell us about the future
Right.
and how to use that knowledge, strategically.
Exactly.
So we'll be covering a bunch, AI, of course,
Of course.
green energy, even luxury spending. We're going to decode it all.
What I find so fascinating is that investment themes, they're less about picking like the hottest stock of the moment
Mm-hmm.
and more about understanding these powerful forces that are literally reshaping the world. It's almost like having a crystal ball, but instead of vague predictions,
Yeah.
you get insight into actual shifts happening right now that companies are having to respond to.
Okay, so less fortune telling, more like, I don't know, a strategic decoder ring.
Exactly.
I like that. But before we get all decoder ring on this, let's start with the basics. What are investment themes in the first place?
Think of them as long-term bets, really. Bets on how the world is changing. Like, are people going to keep moving towards online shopping? Is clean energy going to become truly viable? These kinds of changes create opportunities
Yeah.
for certain companies to grow, to profit. That's the heart of thematic investing.
So instead of just buying a stock because it feels hot right now, you're looking at the bigger context.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this company poised to grow? Maybe because it's riding some wave that's going to last for years.
Precisely. And that's where the real opportunity is. Anyone can chase a trend.
Right.
But thematic investing, that's about identifying these enduring shifts that have the potential to honestly remake whole industries.
So we're not talking fads here. We're talking deep currents driving the future. So what are some of the most powerful currents out there right now? Like, where do we even begin?
Well, there's one that's kind of impossible to ignore, right? Technological innovation, specifically things like AI, 5G, cybersecurity.
Oh, yeah. Feels like AI is everywhere these days. Heck, we might even be using it to write this very deep dive. Who knows?
And that's, as they say, just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
AI is transforming healthcare, transportation, finance. It's not just gadgets, it's fundamental shifts in how we live, how we work. So for investors, that means understanding which companies are not just using AI, but pushing its boundaries.
So looking beyond the companies just slapping an AI-powered sticker on things.
Right.
Finding the ones actually doing the innovating.
Yeah. A great example within this is the semiconductor industry.
Okay.
Because semiconductors, they're like the building blocks of all this tech. No semiconductors, no processing power for AI, no speed of 5G, none of that.
So even if I don't get all the techie details of how a semiconductor works,
Right.
the big picture is they're essential for a whole bunch of tech that's only going to get bigger.
Precisely. And that's what's so powerful about this approach. You don't got to be an engineer
Yeah.
to see the potential there.
Okay, so tech innovation is clearly a massive current. What else is shaping the investment landscape these days?
One that's more and more important, gotta say, is sustainability, environmental impact. And this isn't just feel-good stuff. It's recognizing the world is changing, businesses have to adapt.
Yeah, feels like every day there's a new report about climate change
Yeah.
or how we need to be more sustainable.
And those reports are backed up by data.
Yeah.
Climate change is real. The effects are getting more obvious. Governments and businesses are feeling the pressure to act. This creates a huge opportunity for companies focused on, well, renewables, electric vehicles, sustainable agriculture, all of that.
So not just companies talking about sustainability, but the ones actually doing something, making real solutions.
Precisely. And that's where the deep dive part matters, right? Got to look past the headlines, understand each company's approach, even within renewables. Are they solar, wind, geothermal? What's their track record for innovation?
So homework is still required. Got to understand the specifics of each theme.
Always. Got to be an informed investor, not just chasing buzzwords.
All right, so we've got tech, we've got sustainability, two massive forces. What other powerful themes are out there for folks to consider?
One that's just fascinating to me is healthcare and biotechnology. This is about the incredible advances being made in medicine, how we can all live longer, healthier lives.
I think this is one that resonates with pretty much everyone. Who doesn't want to live a longer, healthier life, right?
Universal desire. And what's so exciting is that we're seeing breakthroughs at a speed we've never seen before. Precision medicine, tailoring treatments to your unique genes.
Wow.
Gene editing, CRISPR, stuff that could cure diseases we thought were incurable. And a huge growing focus on mental health, recognizing that's just as important as physical health.
Man, sounds like sci-fi, but it's happening now.
It is, and for investors, that means a chance to get in early on companies developing these groundbreaking things. Could be pharmaceuticals, medical devices, even telehealth platforms, making healthcare more accessible.
So within this one theme, a whole universe of potential investments, it's about finding the companies at the forefront of these changes.
Precisely. And that's what I love about this approach. It's big picture thinking, spotting the trends shaping the future, and then finding the company's best position to ride that wave.
Okay, so we've got tech, sustainability, healthcare, all massive forces, clearly, but the world's complex, right? Other stuff's got to be at play here.
Well, for sure.
What else should people be thinking about?
Another key trend, no doubt, is globalization and these rising emerging markets. We're seeing a shift in economic power. Countries like China, India, Brazil, Indonesia playing bigger and bigger roles.
I've heard a lot about the growing middle class in these countries.
Yeah.
And how that creates this massive new consumer market.
You're exactly right. That's a key part of it. As those economies grow, so does people's buying power.
Yeah.
Which means huge opportunity for companies selling to these new consumers. Could be electronics, cars, travel, entertainment, anything really.
So it's about understanding the specifics of each market. Which companies are best suited to win there?
Exactly. And important to remember, investing in emerging markets comes with its own risks.
Oh, of course.
It can be more volatile, more political, and economic uncertainty.
So got to find the right balance, risk versus reward.
Absolutely. Thorough research, due diligence, all that becomes even more crucial.
Okay, globalization, emerging markets, another piece of the puzzle. But we're still missing something key here, aren't we? The people driving all this change.
You're so right. Can't talk investment themes without talking consumer trends, behavior. It's people's wants, their needs, their spending habits. That's what fuels demand.
And how we consume has changed so much, even just the past few years. Online shopping, personalization, wellness. I know my own habits have evolved a ton.
That's a perfect example. The rise of e-commerce has been, well, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Companies like Amazon, Alibaba, they're giants because they understood this shift. But it goes deeper than just buying online. Consumers are more demanding. They want quality, ethical sourcing, personalized experiences.
So even if a company has a great product, if they don't know how to actually connect with people, they're going to struggle.
Absolutely. Think about those direct-to-consumer brands popping up, building loyal followings by engaging with their customers, offering unique things, or the focus on wellness, self-care. Companies tapping into that, offering products for well-being.
Right.
They're set up for growth.
It's like the old saying, give the people what they want. But now it's not just about giving it. It's anticipating what they'll want next.
Exactly. That's the real art, anticipating those shifts in how people behave and finding the companies out ahead of the curve.
Okay, so we've got tech, sustainability, healthcare, globalization, and consumer trends. My brain's kind of full.
It's a lot.
But it's like we're building this giant puzzle, and now we're starting to see the full picture. But before we get into the how-to of using all this, there's one more piece for it. What about the actual infrastructure of the world?
Such a good point. Can't talk future without talking the spaces we live in, how they're evolving. That brings us to infrastructure and urbanization.
When I hear infrastructure, I think roads, bridges, but this seems like a lot more than that.
It is. It's the very fabric of our cities, how we move, live, connect, sustain ourselves. Think about the rise of, like, smart cities.
Yeah, I've heard that term, but what does that actually mean?
It's using data and tech to optimize everything. Traffic flow, energy use, waste management, safety. Imagine a city where traffic lights adapt in real time, buildings make their own power, sensors check air quality, public transport's seamless with ride sharing.
Sounds futuristic, but kind of intimidating too, all that data.
It can be, yeah, which is why we got to break it down. This theme creates opportunities for companies in renewables, sustainable building, data, sensors, transport.
So understanding the different layers of this one theme and then finding the companies making those specific things that'll make these smart cities real.
Exactly. And it's not just cities. It's the broader infrastructure a growing population needs. Clean water, energy, transport that works, and stuff that can handle climate change.
So investing in the companies, building the foundation for, well, a good future.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so compelling. It's not just about profit. It's understanding the forces at play and then aligning your investments with, well, the kind of future you want to see.
Okay, so we've covered 10 here. Tech, sustainability, healthcare, going global, what consumers are doing. It's clear these themes are all about understanding the big picture. But I bet some folks are thinking, what about the stuff that doesn't fit neatly in? What about gold, real estate, even crypto?
Great question. Brings us to the world of alternative investments.
Okay, alternatives.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of mysterious, maybe a little risky.
They can be, which is why understanding them is key. They're assets that don't fit the usual categories of stocks, bonds, cash, can offer diversification, potential for higher returns, even a hedge against inflation.
So stuff like commodities, real estate, private equity.
Right.
Things that might not be for everyone,
Right.
but can be valuable if you're looking to diversify, maybe get those higher returns.
Exactly. And some of these, like REITs, which are real estate investment trusts, or commodities like gold, they can tie back into the themes we've been discussing.
So if you're bullish on smart cities,
Yeah.
maybe you invest in REITs focused on that kind of development. Or if you're worried about inflation eating away at your regular investments, you add some gold to the mix.
Precisely. The key is to do your homework. Understand how these alternatives fit into your overall strategy and how much risk you're comfortable with.
Okay, so we've gone from cutting-edge tech to basic human needs, even dipped our toes into the alternative pool. Clearly, understanding these themes is way more than just picking stocks.
It really is.
It's understanding the world, what's shaping the future, and how to align our investments with, well, what we believe in.
It's seeing the big picture, how everything's connected, and making choices that not only benefit us, but contribute to a better future for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. But this is just the beginning, folks.
Yeah.
Next time, we'll dive into how you actually use these themes to make decisions.
We'll go from the what to the how.
So stick around.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've kind of laid out the map here, right? All these big investment themes, tech, sustainability, healthcare, emerging markets, how consumers are changing. But how do we actually use all this? Like, how do you translate these big ideas into actual decisions about what to invest in?
Right, that's the million-dollar question. Understanding the big picture is one thing, but connecting that to specific companies, actual opportunities, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. I can picture our listener right now feeling kind of overwhelmed. Like they're at the base of the mountain, all this knowledge, but no clear path up.
A good way to think about it, I find, is like building a house. You wouldn't start with the doorknobs before you've even laid the foundation. Right, same with investing. You got to start with that core portfolio.
Okay, so this is like the bedrock, what everything else gets built on. What does that look like?
Your core should be broad market investments, things that give you diversification, capture overall market growth. Think index funds, ETFs, tracking major stock indices. This part isn't about picking specific themes, more like making sure you're participating in the market overall.
So this is the don't put all your eggs in one basket part of the strategy.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But then where do the themes actually come in?
Once you've got that foundation, then you can start adding layers of thematic investments, stuff that lines up with your beliefs about the future, what trends you think are going to be huge. It's like building up from that foundation, adding walls, rooms.
Yeah, I like that. So we've got our base, now we're framing out the structure. But how do we choose which rooms to build? Which themes deserve our attention and our money?
That's where the real deep dive happens. It's not enough to just say, oh, I believe in clean energy. Got to get specific. What kind of clean energy? Solar, wind, nuclear. What are the tech advances happening within those? What are the regulations like? Which companies are leading the pack?
So we're getting granular, really doing our homework, because even within a big theme, there's going to be winners and losers.
100%. And that's where the real opportunity is, right? Finding the companies not just along for the ride, but the ones actually driving the wave.
So not just investing because the sector's hot, but understanding the trends underneath, who the competition is, if that company's got real long-term potential.
Exactly. Connecting the dots between the big stuff and how individual businesses are actually performing.
Okay, so we've done the research, found a theme we care about, maybe even narrowed down a few companies that look promising. What's the next step?
I always say start small. Don't go all in on one thing.
Yeah.
Even if you're super passionate about it, diversification is key, always.
It's that eggs in one basket thing again. But how does that work with thematic investing?
Think of it like building a mini portfolio within your chosen theme. So instead of betting it all on one solar panel company, you spread it around. Maybe some goes to panel makers, some to installers, some to companies financing solar projects.
Oh, I see.
Maybe even a bit to companies working on brand new solar tech.
So it's like diversifying within the theme itself.
Exactly. And that's smart for a couple reasons. One, you're less exposed if one company goes belly up.
Right.
Two, you capture the upside of the whole theme, even if one company lags behind.
Okay, so starting small, spreading things around within our theme, building gradually.
Yeah.
But how do we know when to add more to a certain theme? Like, is there a signal?
Tough question. Really depends on your situation, how much risk you can stomach, your overall goals. But a decent rule of thumb is to check in on your thematic investments maybe every 6 months, once a year.
So it's not set it and forget it. Got to
Yeah.
stay engaged.
Right. The world changes fast. New info is always coming out. Got to keep up on what's happening in the areas you're invested in.
Which makes sense. But
Yeah.
with so much info out there, how do you even keep up without getting totally overwhelmed?
Great question. First, got to find sources you can trust.
Okay.
Could be financial news sites, research platforms, even podcasts like ours. Why not? The goal isn't to know everything, but to build up your understanding over time.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to filter. You don't got to read every single thing. Focus on sources that give you good analysis, data-driven insights, stuff that matches your investing style.
So it's about choosing what you pay attention to, not just taking in everything.
Precisely. Another tip. Make time for research, for learning. Could be 30 minutes each morning before work, an hour on Sundays. Just make it a habit.
Schedule it in, make it a priority.
Exactly. And this learning, it's not just reading boring reports. It's understanding the world, what's driving the future, and how that creates chances for companies to grow.
Yeah, makes sense. So read books, watch documentaries, talk to people who are passionate about these things.
Absolutely. The more you learn, the more confident you'll be in your choices. And that confidence, that's priceless.
Okay, so we've got our core. We're building thematically, spreading things around, staying informed. It's starting to feel like a real plan. But I think there's one more thing we got to talk about. The emotional side of all this.
Yeah.
Investing can be a roller coaster ride.
Big time. Especially with these long-term trends, themes. Easy to get caught up in the hype when something's doing well.
Oh, yeah.
Just as easy to freak out when the market dips.
I've definitely been there. FOMO is real, and so is the fear of losing everything.
It is, which is why having a clear plan based on good research is so crucial. Your plan should lay out your goals, how much risk you can handle, your time frame, how you're spreading your money around. Having that plan will keep you grounded, help you avoid making dumb decisions based on emotions.
It's like having a roadmap, so even when things get bumpy, you know where you're going.
Exactly. And it's okay to adjust your plan a bit if things change.
Right.
But having it in the first place, that's what keeps you disciplined, rational.
So it's finding that balance, being informed, but also flexible, trusting your gut sometimes, but mostly trusting the plan. But isn't all this kind of selfish? Like we're talking about making money here.
Interesting point, and it's worth thinking about. For a lot of folks, investing is just about the money, making more of it.
Yeah.
But I think it can be so much more,
Okay, I'm listening.
especially thematic investing. This has the potential to actually do good in the world. When you're investing in things that match your values, you're not just profiting, you're supporting companies trying to solve big problems.
So instead of just chasing returns, you're investing in solutions.
Exactly. Like, if you care about clean energy,
Yeah?
you can invest in the companies making that happen. Worried about healthcare, invest in companies making it better, more accessible.
So it's using your money to actually make an impact, lining up your financial goals with, well, how you want to see the world.
Precisely. And
Yeah.
that's what makes this so powerful. It's not just making money, it's making a difference.
I love that. It's realizing that our choices about money have power, and we can use that to build a world we're actually proud of. But let's be real for a sec. This all sounds great, but I bet a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed, intimidated even. Like, this is too complicated. I don't even know where to start.
I get it, totally. It can seem like this big, confusing world, especially if you're new to it.
Yeah.
But anyone can learn this stuff. Anyone can start making smarter decisions.
So what's your advice for someone brand new, feeling lost? Like, where do they even begin?
First thing, don't let the jargon scare you. Finance loves its fancy terms, but really, it's about understanding some pretty basic ideas.
Like, buy things you think will be worth more later.
Exactly, whether that's stocks, bonds, whatever. And there's tons of resources out there to help you learn. Books, articles, online courses, even financial advisors. Ask questions, get guidance. Take your time.
So start with the basics, build that foundation, and as you get more comfy, you can get more complex.
Exactly. Second thing, start small. You don't need a ton of money to invest these days. Honestly, starting small is a great way to learn, to experiment, without risking too much.
I think a lot of people think investing is just for rich people, but that's not true at all.
Not anymore. Tons of platforms let you invest with just a few bucks.
Huh. Didn't know
Lots
that.
of places offer fractional shares, meaning you can buy a piece of a company even if you can't afford a whole share.
So really, no excuse not to start. Could be 10 bucks a week, 20. Just building that habit.
That's it. Build the habit, and as you learn, get more confident, you can always invest more. Third thing, don't be afraid to ask for help. There's so many people who can help you with this stuff. Financial advisors, online communities, websites, podcasts. Don't try to go it alone.
Find a mentor, join a community, do your research, never stop learning.
Well said.
Okay, those are all great tips. But there's one more that's super important, especially with thematic investing.
What's that?
Patience. This is a long game. We're talking about trends that'll play out over years, even decades.
It's like planting seeds waiting for those trees to grow.
Exactly. So don't expect to get rich quick. Don't get discouraged if things don't take off right away. Stay focused on the long term, stay disciplined, and trust the process.
So important. Investing's a marathon, not a sprint.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the how of thematic investing, the steps to take. But let's zoom out for a minute. Why is this even important? Like, why should people care, especially in a world that's changing so fast?
I think it's important for a few reasons. First, it lets you tap into the power of these long-term trends.
So looking past the day-to-day ups and downs, focusing on the bigger forces at play.
Exactly. And by investing in companies riding those trends, you're setting yourself up to benefit.
Being on the right side of history.
That's it. Second, it lets you align your money with your values, something we talked about before, but it's worth repeating.
Yeah, putting your money where your heart is.
Right. Passionate about sustainability, invest in green energy, excited about biotech, invest in companies making those breakthroughs. You get to make a positive impact while also building your own financial future.
So it's not either you can do well and do good.
Exactly. And third, I think it makes you think more critically about the world. It's not just picking stocks. It's understanding what's shaping our society, our economy, our future.
So it's being an informed citizen, not just an investor.
Exactly. Thematic investing is powerful, not just for building wealth, but for shaping the future we want to see.
That's such a great point. It's realizing that our choices have power, and we can use that to create a better world for everyone.
But I think there's something else at play here, too.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about information, about research, but sometimes the most important thing is simply to ask questions.
I love that. Questions are key.
It's so easy to get overwhelmed, to feel like you don't know where to start. But just starting to ask questions, that's huge.
Don't be afraid to ask for help, to challenge what you think you know, to explore new ideas.
Curiosity, that's your superpower.
It is. And the more you ask, the more you learn, the more confident you become.
For sure.
Okay, we're almost out of time for this part. But before we move on, I want to leave folks with one last thought.
Please do.
We've talked a lot about making money,
Yeah.
but it's important to remember money's just a tool.
So true.
It can be used for good or for bad. It can help us build the future we want, or it can keep us stuck in the past. It all comes down to our choices.
Powerful stuff.
So as you start exploring these themes, ask yourself, what kind of future do I want to create? What kind of world do I want to live in?
And how can my investments help make that happen?
That's the real power here. It's not just about making money. It's about making a difference.
Beautifully said.
Okay, that's all the time we've got for this part. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And remember, the future is ours to create.
We'll be back.
So we've talked about how thematic investing, it can be more than just, chasing the highest return.
Right.
It's about putting your money towards something, a future you believe in. But I imagine for someone just starting out, even figuring out what to invest in can feel, well, daunting.
Oh, absolutely. That's totally normal. The financial world, it loves to throw around jargon and complexity, but strip all that away.
Yeah.
And the concepts are actually pretty straightforward. At its core, investing is just believing that something's going to be worth more in the future than it is right now.
Okay, so like believing that electric vehicles are the future, so companies making those are probably a good bet. But how do you even begin to filter through which companies? It's a jungle out there.
It can be, for sure. That's where those resources we talked about earlier, they become really important. Reputable financial news, those research platforms, even podcasts like ours, why not?
There you go.
The point isn't to become an expert overnight.
Right.
It's to learn a little bit at a time, build that understanding gradually.
So like learning a new language, Start with the basics and go from there.
Mhm.
But what about those aha moments, the times you see the connection between a big theme, like we've been talking about,
Yeah.
and a specific company? Any advice on how to spot those opportunities?
Those are the best moments. One tip I always give people, pay attention to what's happening in your own life.
Yeah.
Are you seeing more electric car charging stations popping up around town? Are your friends all obsessed with some new health app? Those observations, those can spark ideas for themes to research.
It's like that invest in what you know idea.
Exactly.
Well, even when you start seeing those connections, how do you know if a company's actually a good investment? Looking at financial statements, it can feel like reading hieroglyphics.
You don't have to be a financial genius to get started. Begin by asking some basic questions like, what problem is this company even solving?
Okay.
How big is the market for what they're selling? Who are they competing with? You can find a lot of this info on company websites, news articles, even investor relations platforms.
So understanding the company's story, their place in the market, if they've got a plan for growth.
Exactly.
But let's be honest, even with all the research in the world, there's still risk involved. How do you, as someone who's been doing this a while, how do you think about risk?
Risk is always going to be there. It's part of the game. But it's not something to be scared of. It's something to understand and manage. And one of the biggest things is diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right, we've heard that one.
Spread your investments around. Different types of assets, different industries, even different parts of the world.
So even if you're super into AI, it's still smart to have some money in other areas, like healthcare or renewables.
Exactly. Because even the hottest themes can go up and down. And another part of managing risk is knowing yourself. How comfortable are you with the possibility of losing money?
Yeah, that's a good one.
That'll help guide your decisions.
Makes me think about what we talked about earlier, the emotions involved. Easy to get excited, easy to get scared. Having that plan, that roadmap is so key.
100%. It helps you stay on track, avoid those knee-jerk reactions.
But what if someone's listening and thinking, I don't have enough money to even think about investing?
That's one of the great things about investing now. You don't need a ton of money to get started.
Yeah.
There are platforms where you can invest with very little, even a few bucks. The important thing is to start early, make it a habit.
It's like that saying, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, second best time is today.
Exactly. Every bit counts. And that growth over time, it's amazing. And never underestimate learning.
Right.
The more you know, the better your decisions will be. Read, listen to podcasts, take courses. There's so much out there.
It's about taking control of your financial future, not waiting for someone else to do it for you.
I love that.
But it's easy to get lost in the details, the numbers. Let's step back for a minute. Big picture. Why is thematic investing so important in the world today?
To me, it's recognizing that we're not just watching the world go by, we're part of it. And our choices, even our investments, they can actually shape what happens.
It's putting your money where your values are, supporting companies doing good, building that world we want to see.
Beautifully said. It's realizing that making money, it doesn't have to be at the expense of the planet or of people. The best companies, they'll be the ones doing good while being successful.
It's exciting to think we can be part of that change, not just through what we do, but how we invest.
Totally. Every choice is a vote for the future we want.
So powerful. As you go on this journey, whether you're a pro or just starting,
Yeah.
remember this.
Your choices matter. Your investments matter.
Invest wisely, invest with purpose.
And invest in a future we can all be proud of.
That's it for our deep dive into investment themes, folks. We hope you found this helpful, maybe even inspiring.
It's been a blast.
And remember, the future's ours to make. Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.